Hey,
Hey, how you doing?
good man. How are you?
Yeah, good, really good.
It's good. Thank you
Too
for
bad
jumping
for
on to
Monday.
me.
No, no sweat.
How's your day been?
Oh, look, it's been pretty flat out with work. Yeah, basically just been on the phone all day with what I do in disaster recovery, trying to manage a lot of things that have been going on for councils. So yeah, it's a bit of that. Not much, not much free time,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah, yeah. So do you kind of like do you work? So you work like Monday to Friday?
Yeah. Monday to Friday is my usual role. I mean, it's pretty flexible. My job's really good in terms of flexibility. I get to start and finish reasonably whatever I want. So it's pretty cool in that respect. But yeah, it's Monday to Friday, and I've got a 38 hour week or whatever the full time
Yeah, yeah.
thing is to do. So
How
just
long you been doing that for?
my current role, look, I've been working for the government for close to 10 years now.
Okay.
So initially, it was in child protection. I did
Yeah.
8 years in the state government, the New South Wales state government child protection space, and then moved from there into disaster recovery. Helping people get back on their feet after a flood, bushfire, and so on.
Yeah.
And now, just recently, um, sort of got a bit of a promotion during prep, which was an interesting experience, but applied for a new job within the same department, but doing infrastructure stuff. So roads, bridges, culverts, essential
Okay.
public assets. So yeah, looking at funding arrangements and working with councils to get money to
Yeah.
complete works. Um,
It's a very interesting job. Never really talked to anyone before that kind of like does that or has had, I guess, a diverse range of roles within, I guess, the government. So it's really just interesting to hear.
Yeah, I've done a whole bunch of stuff. Like before that, I mean, before I was working for government, I was a professional brewer. I brewed beer professionally.
Oh,
Um,
sick.
yeah, right. Which everyone says is like, oh, that's a dream job. But the problem with that, it was sort of like a nowhere job.
Yeah.
Like you could become a brewer, and then it was just like, well, this is it for me.
Yeah.
And after you do it for a certain number of years, it becomes like baking a cake. Like you're just literally
Yeah.
following ingredients, and people like what they like. So you can't really, like, every now and then you get to make something new, and it's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
exciting, and that's where you get a little bit of a kick out of it. But the monotony of doing it day in, day out can be a bit sort of long in the tooth. So I did that. I worked in viticulture. I do winemaking and a whole bunch of stuff, really.
That's mad though.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Like it's different. Like I get what you mean by the boredom of it because like I work with bakers and like they've been doing it for 20 plus years and it's like they just don't they don't even want to cook when they go home. They don't want to make anything. They like started it because they love like baking and then it's just kind of like turned to that thing of that monotony of always just making the same shit. So it's just
Yeah,
like completely burnt them out from it.
yeah, 100%. Chef's the same too. It's like, and you ask a cleaner whether they have a clean house, and they're like, "Fuck no, I don't go home and clean." Like that's the last thing they want to do when they
Yeah,
get home is pick up a vacuum and start
literally.
vacuuming their own house. So, yeah, it's one of those things though. Like we all have these hobbies and these passions, and sometimes when they do turn into a job where you get paid, you actually lose a little bit of kick for it. Like it's
Yeah.
sort of like I'm getting paid for this and it's really cool, but sometimes it can actually go, actually, this is a bit, I've lost my passion here for doing that because now it's considered work and it's, there's more demand for me and there's more this and there's more that. It's an interesting sort of thing that happens with humans.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. Like I've been like listening to a few things actually of like Alex Hormozy talking about um he did a podcast I think it was with Jay Shetty and they were talking about like the misconception of going follow your passion because if you follow your passion to make money you there is a possibility most people like you said you end up just then kind of falling out of love with it and so
Right.
that's no,
Yeah.
so then you end up trying to find something else that becomes your passion or a new hobby that you enjoy. And then yeah, that original excitement kind of dissipates. And so
Yeah.
it's interesting. I agree. It's like it's like funny. It's like even that applies to bodybuilding. Like I think when sometimes when you
Absolutely.
especially, prepping and doing it 24/7, it's like it kind of shifts from then that excitement, that motivation to just you purely relying on discipline.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of those things that happen. I mean, even coaching, like people go into coaching, they've become sort of, they love their bodybuilding, they want to make it part of their lifestyle. And then all of a sudden, they've got these sort of people that are new to training and they're asking them thousands of questions and they're going, oh, just leave me alone. Like, I don't care if you have 100 extra calories a day. Like,
Yeah.
stop asking me, So there's like, I guess some of that does happen. People get frustrated with thinking, oh, yeah, that'd be awesome. I could train these athletes and they'd be good. But not everybody you train is going to be an athlete that has all of those behaviors set. You mean you might be lucky and have that. But a lot
Like
of
one
other
in every
people,
20.
yeah, a lot of other people really don't even have the base level of knowledge um, to calculate a few things themselves. They're solely relying on what you're up to. So, yeah, super interesting.
Reminds me of I think Tim McKinnon did a post. I think it was like meant to be he's like coaching like play on like a Spotify wrap up, and it was like something similar with what you're saying of like kind of like the most common question that he was just getting answered by all his clients, and he had to repeat the same thing like 9,000 times of it's okay, you're doing your best, it's all right, don't worry about it, it's just a few extra calories. So it's so
Yeah.
funny, very true.
Yeah. Oh, follow the plan. That's one that's still out often for
Yeah,
peak week because people look at themselves and they start going, oh, I'm too this, I'm not dry enough, I'm this, I'm that. And it's like, how about like that stress that you're creating right now is ruining your look.
yeah, literally.
Like dead set. It's like you are stressing so much about the minutiae of your prep that you're ruining your look. Like you're
Yeah,
destroying it actively by overthinking and overcomplicating. It's a very simple process. Yeah,
100%. I think people still seem to not understand like how much stress plays a role in affecting our body.
man, so much,
Crazy.
so much. And like I've got a classic example of that. Was literally leading up into the IFBB state show. Um, I was like, oh, am I going to make weight for classic? I'm pretty comfortable. I feel like I'm going to be fine. And I was within the weight cap just on my usual day to day feed. The night before, I was 105 kilos all of a sudden. Oh
Mm,
shit, where did that come from? My diet's been the same, everything's been the same, but I've been thinking a bit more about this show upcoming. And maybe that
yeah.
stress just causes you to go, oh, hold on, your body slows down, it doesn't empty as quick, all of that kind of stuff.
Mm,
And in the morning, I woke up and I was fine. But like literally, I was like, oh, I was calling my wife. I'm like, oh, babe, I'm stressed out. I don't know what to do. She's like, this is what you tell people not to do. Like
yeah.
right now, you are literally guilty of your own fucking behavior. Sit
Yeah.
down, go to sleep, rest, and you wake up and you'll be fine. And sure enough, I woke up by myself. I was like, ah,
He was right. I am right. That's why I tell other people to do it.
right.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah. So yeah, that's one of those experiences where you get into that sort of, I don't know, the zone of stressing about it, this destroying looks. And they talk about it, way up into the Olympia level, like
Yeah.
where the stakes are much higher. I'm not going to, let's say I don't win a medal. It's not the end of the world when you don't win the money that goes along with,
Yeah.
Mr. Olympia. Okay, that's a different story. There's a lot more
Even
stress.
like the stress of just being on stage, like it's like the whole thing of like that's been really big with like Martin Fitzwater.
Yeah,
He like nailed it in the recent Prague show, but like, a few shows before that, that's been the thing. He's stressing on stage, so then, it's affecting the way he looks. He's now not posing correctly, and then he's getting, bumped downwards in points.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I know that Jake Horridge, he talked about it too. With some of his stage presentations, he says, "I feel great, I look great," but he does. And then he goes, "I step on stage and I'm sweating, I'm dripping tan everywhere, and all this kind of stuff." And I'm just like, "Just relax into it, man. Like you've
Yeah.
done the work." But it's funny, just the way the brain just engages. You all of a sudden you're a bit sweaty, you're a bit clammy, maybe you're a bit, shaky. I find that I'm fine with the comparison rounds. As soon as it's the individual posing routine, I've practiced it and practiced it and practiced it and practiced it. And my Spotify playlist says, "This was your favorite song." It's my fucking posing song because I've sat there and listened
Yeah.
to it and rehearsed it in my brain. And yeah, and then like I get on stage and I fuck it up. There's the
Yeah.
nerves,
Yeah.
the shaking, and a few other people. I watched Taylor Crabtree was
Yeah.
great
Yeah. Yeah.
with his show. He said the nerves, and you get on stage and you've got something to prove, and well, even that, it's not even something to prove. It's just like maybe a weight of expectation or something that's sort of self-imposed.
Yeah.
and then you get on stage and all of a sudden you're a little bit nervous, and it's very obvious when you start to transition and your
Yeah.
body shakes a little bit. You can't just maintain that nice
It, it
flow with the posing. Yeah,
yeah, it's like trying to find that balance of, I guess, like clarity of mind, because it's like, I guess this must be that combination of like, that adrenaline that starts hitting because okay, you're up, they called your name, or they're trying to shove you to the front of the line, and then you get in stage, and then you must just be running through those processes of like, I'm going to do this pose, or I'm going to go like this, or I've done this 1,000 times, it's going to be easy. And then all of a sudden when you center stage, you start trying to like remember, oh wait, what was I meant to be doing? No, this it was this, or okay, we're just waiting for my music. And then yeah, you get lost in that thought
yeah,
subconsciously, that then it then starts to make you shake on stage, or forget a pose. Or because I remember it was way back, who was it? They did it was a two-man, it was like super heavies at a Queensland show. It's like 2019. And it was funny. It was really funny to watch, actually. So one dude, um he like basically did not prep at all. He's like, he was just like your typical like influencer type of guy. And he just sat at like, I think maybe like a decent 88% body fat, and like he just came on, didn't give a fuck, just like posed, was mucking around, having fun, because I think in his head he was like, I'm getting a second place medal.
yeah,
And then maybe it was Tim. I think it must have been Tim McKinnon.
yeah,
And he came in, and it's same thing. He was super confident, looked peeled. He was like on the mark, and it was like you could tell through that posing routine that he like the nerves slightly started to like kick in a little bit. And then
mm,
like it was, he didn't fumble too bad, but it was like you could tell he maybe missed up a transition.
yeah.
And it's just like what you're kind of saying. So it's interesting to see where, I guess, when you compare to someone like the other dude, who clearly didn't give a fuck, it's like he just kind of owned the stage, even though he looked absolutely horrendous. But it was just like that funny thing to compare.
Yeah, the acceptance of it and just being like, I'm going to go out there and have fun versus I'm going to go out there and I've got something that I need to show and I need to prove. And
Yeah.
I think when you go out there with just that clear mindset of like, I've done the work,
Mm.
I'm practiced, I'm polished, and then just wait for your music and not try and do it like overdo it, do it too hard, you do so much better. And with all the shows that I have done, I've found that the ones that really trick me up the most is when the audience is lit up.
Oh
When
yeah.
the IFBB in the Melbourne shows, it's just the judges you can see. Everyone else down there is
Yeah,
black,
yeah.
right? And that makes it so much easier because you can like see the judges and engage with them in between your poses and your transitions and things like that. But you're not seeing everybody
Mm.
else. The one thing that does stuff you up is when all the crowd cheers and you can't hear your fucking music, and it's like I can't,
That'd be
I
hard.
can't. Yeah, I'm a little bit, maybe I've missed timing with that turn and so on. So yeah,
That's
yeah,
hard.
it's
I
definitely
didn't even think of that, because I haven't stepped on stage myself yet, and I hadn't even thought of the fact of, yeah, different venues would, depending on like obviously the lighting setup. It's like, yeah, you'd sometimes see the crowd, or not see the crowd. Because I've only been to the Queensland venue, and that's like
yeah.
really, it's like a actual like proper theater with the stairs up. So from
You'd
what
see
I've
them.
understood
Yeah,
from everyone, you can't see anybody. You can
yeah,
just see the judges. But that's so
yeah,
like so true, that like what you said, I can imagine, like, because what was that like? Because I think you posted something about when you did the Malaysia Pro Show for the PCA, you felt like you had
yeah.
stuffed up your posing a little bit there. What kind of affected you there? Was that just that nerves?
It's
Or
just the nerves and being like that was Thailand's nationals, which was a pro show.
yeah.
Um, that was my first pro show, and I'd practiced a new routine because I didn't want to do the same one that I'd done sort of all season.
Oh
I
yeah, yeah.
thought, let's do something new, something different, change the music and bring something a little bit more, creative. Um, which was the goal. And then I practiced it and I nailed it. And then and the actual like I wanted it to be like a minute and a half, 2 minutes because I really sort of worked out this whole thing. But
Yeah.
where it fit and where it finished at a minute, I was quite happy with too. Um, but yeah, that first step, I stumbled and then
Oh
I fumbled and it's like but I pulled it back. I felt like I pulled it back after that. But I, it's like that thing when you stutter and then everyone looks at you, and because everyone's looked at you because you stuttered, you fucking keep doing it.
yeah.
And it's like once I knew that I'd made that mistake, I was like, damn, in my head. And then it took me a little bit more for me to not. stumble
Yeah.
as much through the rest of the routine. It was really difficult to do.
Yeah.
And there was still a few, transitions where I didn't sort of transition properly, and the pose just looked like the front lat spread pose. It was just like I was hunched over a bit. I wasn't really bringing the chest up, and you know, but making myself full and big.
Mhm.
So yeah, lots of little things like that. So it was decent, but it was one of those things like, oh damn, that was recorded too. That was the one that I was like, yeah, I'm gonna nail this, and I've got
Yeah.
the fancy recording and all of that kind of stuff. And it was the one that I fumbled on the most, and I was like, oh damn.
It's always the
but
case. It's always the case when like
and
something's meant to be done like to the best, then you make a mistake.
and you think that it's really bad, and then when you see people in the audience and the other people that are there who compete, and they're just like, no, that was awesome, man, I didn't even notice. So it's funny the things that we notice, because you've got that interoception of what's happening in
Mm.
your body versus what other people see on your outward display. Like some people you can see that they're obviously nervous,
Yeah.
but some people you're just like, oh no, they're just shaking a bit because they're holding the pose too tight, maybe, and so on. Yeah, that's cool.
Does the posing routine like count as a part of your score for the pro show or
For the PCA, oh well, it was part of the finals. So we come out and did it. We did our pre-judging earlier,
yeah.
and then what they do really cool in the PCA pro shows is they have this like background set up, and they call your name, and your your sort of poster flashes up on
Oh,
the back
cool.
screen.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
music comes on, and you come out. You get to wherever you are in the position, like for the start of your routine,
Yeah.
and then you start.
Yeah.
But it's like we're introducing our pro, and then you get to come out, and the whole backdrop changes to you, and your
That's cool.
experience as a pro, and photos of you as a pro
Yeah,
athlete.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, they do. They did really well with it. And Thailand is like one of the best places to go and compete. I was like, this was a really good experience,
Yeah.
because I mean, affordability wise, even being that overseas show, it would have been nice to go to the Amateur Olympia. I don't have the money for that.
Mm.
I'm very much a bodybuilder on a budget, massively.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I think that's the way it should be done. It's like, yeah, it's an expensive sport.
Yeah,
Where you
100%.
can, the reason I'm self-coach is I can't afford one.
Yeah.
Um, well, I could now, but then the rest of my lifestyle has to suffer.
Yeah.
And the thing that I see about coaching, and what I've said, is that, well, what are they going to teach me that I don't already know myself?
Yeah.
So I kind of like, and for me, it's like, how much am I paying to learn that? So the things that I do find I got a lot of value out of with the coaching thing was with I got with Jack Squarin for posing,
Hmm.
because I was like, my posing from last year was dog shit, and literally was improving this year. It was just like posing.
Yeah.
Um, and I think Jax had posted something on Instagram. I was like, what's wrong with this pose? And I was like, oh, I went to this competition. And he's like, oh, yeah, come down to Melbourne. We'll do a free thing, and we'll go from there. And just the few pointers I got in that first little meeting, I was like, okay, this is going to be good for me.
Yeah.
It was reasonably affordable, and yeah, I got lots of good takeaways from working with Jax, and he's just a good guy. It was easy to talk, because when you're an athlete and you've been doing this sport for a long while, they don't like, he's not my coach. He's not telling me to diet more. He's not telling me to do this. He's telling me to do that. He's just saying, hit these poses. We'll do our posing check-ins. I'll give you some feedback. Take it away. Learn. Come back. We'll do it again. We'll rerun it. We'll work on some favorite classic poses,
Hmm.
and it came together really nicely. Um, so yeah, but in terms of like paying for a coach, I'm like, well, I've I've always prepped myself, and I have a very good grasp on what works for my body. And I did get some coaching very early on, sort of when it come to like the point of me, okay, I want to start some PEDs, but I want to do them in a safe way. So then it was like, okay, who's in this space that's doing this sort of harm reduction thing? And at the time, it was Victor Black,
Hmm.
who's I don't think he's around much anymore. I certainly don't see much of him uh, on socials and whatnot, because he's very he can be a very tricky person. But in terms of what I learned from him, it was enough for me to go, okay, I've learned enough about all of these things that I need to use and how to use them, and things I need to look for, and how to like look at blood work. We did that together, things like that. Um, I'm okay to then take that information now and I can apply it myself.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it just sort of worked out that way. And then yeah, shows are expensive. Like the whole sport is just pretty tight. If you're trying to do it on a budget, it can be quite hefty. So
It's
yeah,
definitely
and
definitely something that's like, it's n does not have a really high reward of investment, especially like unfortunately in classic physique too. Like I'll never forget like the amount of interviews of like when after like Chris like C-Bomb had like one like his fifth show coming into his sixth, knowing he's like going to retire, so he's doing all these interviews and going, oh yeah, all I won was like 50K. It's like, yeah, that's like not that good, especially when you compare it to like, and that's just for winning the Olympia. It's like, compared to all the other pro shows, it's even less. So it's like definitely, even as a classic athlete, it's like, yeah, you might as well try and find income. And I think this is what's funny. It's like I think this is where so many athletes just become coaches. And I think unfortunately that's then diluted the quality of coaching,
quality.
and then has affected the fitness industry as it's grown, because we're getting all these people who just want to coach to make money to then do the sport, or just to make money. And then more people are getting involved because health and lifestyle and fitness is becoming more prevalent in society, and it's just this weird jumble mumble gray area that.
Absolutely, man. And I mean, I love the sport. I don't need the money.
Hmm,
And I've always said to people, like, I'll help you out. Like, if you need help, just even somebody going, how do I look? Yeah, what do you think I should do here? What do you think I should do there? And I had one guy, and I was like, look, I'll do your comp prep for free. Like, this is it. I just wanted to, I just because I thought
yeah.
he had a beautiful physique, like really nice. And I was like, he could do really well. But I was a bit worried about the amount of things he was taking. So I thought maybe we can pull back on a bit of that stuff. And I said, all right, let's lock it in and we'll start. And then I heard from another friend of mine that he'd decided to get coaching from somebody else, and he wanted to pay them $75 a week to
What?
coach them. And he started his contest prep, and he got down to 8 weeks out. And he came up to me one day and he said, oh, my coach has started me on 300 milligrams of tren a week. And within a week, he was, I can't sleep, I'm pulling out of the show.
That's
And I was
crazy.
like, man, like this is what exactly what I talk about, and
Yeah.
what you said just now about diluting the industry with quality,
Hmm.
because people are trying to adapt it to their lifestyle, and be a coach because they want to do it coaching because it fits their bodybuilding lifestyle, and they're amongst the community, and they're amongst they're always doing social media stuff. um, and I was completely, I didn't have the social media. I got it at the end of last year, and the only reason I got social media is because I got to the Vic show, and everybody knew each other. And I was like, I don't fucking know anybody. And people are talking to Geordie, and they're talking to Ashwin, and talking to
Yeah.
all these people, and they're all like looking like they're real sort of pally. And I'm like, I feel kind of left out that I'm not a friend with anybody.
Yeah.
And it was all because they'd seen each other updates
Yeah.
on social
Yeah.
media,
Yeah.
right? Like, but I had no idea, no concept. And there was one guy who's like, oh, we couldn't find you on social media. I was like, I'm not on it. But I kind of thought maybe I need this, because maybe that's what you need to do to progress in the sport.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
want the exposure, and the federations want the exposure
Hmm.
too, because if they're giving you a win, they want to be able to showcase you, and then the more people that you have in your followers list, then the more
More eyes on
people
the
see it.
sport. 100%.
Yeah. So, which I also think can be a bit problematic
Yeah,
at
definitely.
times, too. So, yeah.
What what I think is crazy, and I'm intrigued to kind of like hear like your thought process on it, is like in that moment where after hearing that this guy has like not taken on you saying you would do it for free, then paying someone else. And then in that moment where he's gone, oh look, my coach is telling me to take this much, now I'm pulling out, now I can't sleep. Like, do you does it? What's the right wording? Like, does it feel like a not like a or like I told you so moment of kind of not in that not in, I'm not meaning in a negative way, but it's kind of like, does it make you wonder why? Like, did you ask him like why did you choose to pay someone else and not come to
Yeah,
me?
yeah. And I did ask him that. I said, because I'd heard it third hand, and I just said, oh, mate, I'm just following up, because I know that we were going to start this, but I just heard that you were getting training through somebody else. Um, and he's like, oh, yeah, I just don't want to blur the line between a coach and a friend.
Mm,
And I went, okay, that's fair. We weren't very strong friends. Um, but I understand it, I
yeah,
understand it in that sense. If we're going to the gym and we're close and we're saying g'day to each other and whatever, maybe if you felt like the coaching wasn't going the way you wanted it to, then it would destroy a friendship or an
yeah,
acquaintance.
yeah,
There
yeah,
wouldn't be that. It wouldn't get nice,
yeah.
essentially. So yeah, I understood it from that point of view, and to me, I just went, "Oh, that's a real shame." Like I
Mm,
tried to sort of said, "Oh, just pull the trend out, back down on, you know, back down on a nicotine or anything you're taking that's really impacting your sleep,
yeah.
and try and have some high magnesium. Get to bed at a reasonable time. Do the sleep hygiene stuff first."
Mm.
But I think he was that far
On the
down
other
that
side.
rabbit hole that it was just too hard.
Yeah.
And like he'll never compete again. It's literally just wiped him off the whole idea completely.
Yeah, that sucks. Like that's hard, especially when, like you said, you felt like he had such a great physique, and there was
Mm,
potential, hence why you wanted to coach him. And I think, I think that's really important that you've kind of shared this in this way, whether you've done it before on your social media or not. Because I think like what we're saying is like, unfortunately, I respect that because I remember you posted something actually a couple of weeks ago, about doing, yeah, you would take on some more coaching for like season A for free or
yeah,
at a discounted thing. I think it's like really cool that you're doing that because I think, like you said, it's I think it's super expensive. I think some people who have great physiques that could compete, don't have the financial capacity to kind of commit to it. And then you're
yeah,
providing, well, good, hopefully good education alongside, a process that someone can enjoy and then also then fall in love with the sport like the way you have.
yeah. And the whole idea about that is exactly that. Like, it's an expensive sport, and competing is just financially out of reach for a lot of people. Like I won't compete for maybe 2 years. I don't know when my next show is going to be. That's because I just don't have the financial capacity for it at the moment. I've
Yeah.
got a house build. I've got so much going on in my life that it's like I can't afford to take money away from anything else
Mm.
because it's all tied up elsewhere.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
until there's a little bit more financial freedom, I'm just putting it, okay, well, we'll just wait and see. I still love my training. I still love what I'm doing. Um, but we've just got to sort of reassess, like, okay, what are my real priorities that are going to pay dividends in the long run? And
Mm.
I never wanted to be an online coach. I wasn't even sure I was going to ever compete, when I was young. It was just like I competed because someone said, you look good, man, you should compete one day. And I just thought, oh, you think? And then we'll talk about that story in a bit, because
Yeah.
how I got into it is quite funny.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I wouldn't coach people because I want to be a full time coach. It's like I do this because I love it on the outside, and it's a way for me to be involved in an industry without having to compete and be a competitor myself.
Mm.
If that's the way, because I love the sport. I love going to see people posing. I love giving the people advice and saying this is what you could do
Mm.
if you wanted to, compete in season C, you can go this way about it, and this is how you'd sort of, lay that plan out and that foundation there. These are the things that I can see immediately you'd have to work on. Yeah, one of them is a mate of mine that I used to train at the gym with way back when, and he wants to go for season C. And he's just like, oh, as the comp gets close, season C next year, as the comp gets closer, I'll start posing more. And I'm just like, mate, start now.
Start
You
now.
know, start now, because I can guarantee you, as you get further along in your prep, you're going to not want to pose as much as you
Yeah.
can now. And if you can pose sort of a bit flabby and in the middle of your off season, even better, because then you're going to, you know, maintain that mobility that you might not be able to as you get bigger and bigger and bigger. So
I think
yeah.
like something that's funny on that is like it's like such a great reminder that it just makes me laugh every time I think about it is how much some of the biggest and most simplest things that get told to us within the bodybuilding community, how many people actually just like one, either ignore it or like just don't take it seriously until it's
Mm,
too late. Something like, yeah, don't be posing because you're getting closer to your prep. You know, if
mm,
you have the idea that maybe in a whole year's time you're gonna start prepping, well, start posing now. Actually tick off the make sure you're building consistent days in your off season without kind of diverting on your plan or diverting on eating and actually be
yeah.
consistent day in day out before then you look at doing something else. It's like it's just so funny.
Yeah, I think the term that I've heard thrown around now is like a pre-prep. Like
Yeah.
you prep to get your behaviors in line to then be able to prep
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
start to actually lose weight and start to get lean and that kind of thing. Yeah, they have that period of pre contest prep. um, but yeah, it's that behavioral thing, right? So you want to get those behaviors sort of cemented in, and then they kind of become a second nature thing.
Mm,
And we all do it. Even after a show, you hang on to those behaviors even though there's no goal in sight. I still wake up every morning, I pull the scales out from the bottom of the shower and I weigh myself
yeah,
after I've had a piss and before I get in the shower, as a daily routine, man. That's it. That's
yeah,
just
yeah,
become part of who I am and what I do. And then on the other day I miss it, I'll get to work and I go, I fucking didn't weigh myself this morning, you know.
yeah, yeah. Being there, it's like,
um
man.
and then it's like, Sundays are always a shopping and a meal prep day. And like,
Yeah.
it's like, in the afternoon, we do something in the morning as a family. And then we potentially we'll go out and just get my shopping done and then start cooking food. The kids will watch some telly or,
Mm,
play outside, depending on what the weather's doing. And just sort of works like that. So, yeah, it's that thing about making sure people have the behaviors ready and in place before they then start on, I want to go down this path,
yeah.
because it does take a while for people to get into those sort of, I mean,
Habits.
you want to call it accountability. And people, it's a funny word to sort of throw around, because it's being accountable to yourself though.
Yeah.
And like, you don't have to be accountable to your coach. Your coach, they're just gonna, like, you're not accountable. You're not telling them stuff. They're gonna go, you're not ready, and diet you harder, and it's gonna
Yeah.
feel more uncomfortable for you. Like it's you just got to be accountable to yourself and make sure that you're going, okay, well, I'm eating what I'm supposed to be eating, and I'm following what I'm supposed to be following, and I'm exercising the way I am. And I don't have a problem with that, which is why I don't need a coach. I don't
Yeah.
have a problem with accountability. Like some people, they need it. They need to have somebody going, hey, you need to check in to do your fucking
Mm,
posing. Otherwise, they won't do it. Me, I'm like, all right, it's Wednesday.
yeah. This is
I gotta
posing
do my,
day.
I gotta do my posing, this afternoon,
Yeah.
um, or whatever. So the same thing. It just goes like, if you need the coaches for accountability, then I'm like, great. They're providing you the service, the daily service. They're giving you, information that you didn't have about anything that you've asked them. They're working around your injuries, your food, what's not working in your food, what is. I kind of looked at it and went, well, if I'm going to pay a coach and they're going to be, let's say, $75 a week, what am I going to get from that,
Yeah.
which will really justify the cost? Um, and then it's like, well, they need to learn your body to then be able to peak you. It's like, well, I can tell you how it works, because I've tried it and tried it and tried it and tried it, and
Yeah.
basically just get stage ready and then just rehearse peak week right up until the show, and then rehearse peak week to the next show, and then just keep doing that until you've
Yeah.
got the body
I think
ready.
like something that you've said is like so like that hit the nail on the head, really. It's I think a lot of people don't want to. I think it's a mixture of things. Like I think it's a part of it. People struggle with taking accountability because whether, they struggle with actually, showing themselves like what I would consider like self-love, or, actually, being confident in who they are. And I think then it's easier to kind of pass the blame outwards to other people, especially if you have a coach. And then I think the other part to that is the I think the lack of, also, which I guess kind of applies to that accountability, is like just that mindset of like having that due diligence to, actually show up for yourself because you want to, make a difference. It's like
Yeah.
that comfortability is just killing them.
Yeah, yeah, you hit it bang on. I think some people like the coach because they like to have someone to just go, we not I didn't get it right, we didn't get it right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like oh, my coach didn't get it right, or there's, oh, they disappeared on me for an hour during the show and they weren't there, and it's like that didn't fucking matter. Like
Yeah.
if you weren't there, you weren't there. Nothing they're going to do on the day of the show is going to take you from fifth to first.
Mm,
Like it's just not going to
very
happen.
true.
They can help relax you, and maybe your stage presentation will be a bit better, maybe. But at the end of the day, they're not. They're not.
Yeah, they
Then
can't,
it's not.
when you're at the end of it, there's nothing else that can kind of really happen.
No,
Something
that's
that
it.
like I think is being like very admirable and like inspiring, like talking to you so far. And I kind of want to get into right before, because I want to hear this funny story about you kind of getting into bodybuilding, but
Yeah,
is how like strong your, I would say you have a really high, mental fortitude and a well developed mindset and, discipline. And I kind of want to break that into two questions. One, where like, where has that kind of come from and shape, like how has that shaped you, like that being something that's come from your parents, or just, life kind of happening to you, and how do you apply that into then, with your kids? How do is that something that then you're kind of trying to teach them? Because that kind of, actually, you know what, I'll stop there because I'm going to divide into it too many questions. Let's just focus on the first part. Where do you think that's come from?
yeah. It's interesting. Like I've never really thought about it as mental strength. I don't know, as opposed to just like being a dad, being a husband, being working full time, doing the gym stuff. There's a lot
Mm,
happening all at once, and I find that if I'm not mentally prepared, it'll all fall down.
yeah.
Um, and part of that is like last year, during prep, it was. I tried for season A,
Hmm.
and I learned because I got real bad, like I sort of mentally I wasn't right, but I was dieting, and it kind of set me up for season C. But dieting for the show, everyone's saying you're ready, and I'm in my head going, no, there's still more. So, and people are like, you've got striated glutes, man, you're ready, but the show's 12 weeks away.
Yeah.
Like you are fucking ready. You're not. But I wasn't listening to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I learned very quickly that doing season A isn't good for me because I'm not a great sleeper. And daylight savings and kids really fuck up the rest of the routine stuff
Yeah. Yeah.
because I couldn't, like, you have to wait for the kids for it to be dark. The kids not going to sleep till later, and then I'm not getting into bed, and then I'm waking up for work, and my window for sleep is getting smaller and smaller
Mm,
and smaller. And that's a massive priority in any kind of prep or any kind of bodybuilding.
mm,
They always talk about, nutrition, sleep, and training. Like they're
yeah.
your three. Um, and then so what happened was I actually ended up getting really, really anxious. And then I couldn't sleep. And then I ended up saying, I actually can't do this. I had to pull from that
Yeah.
show. Um, and I worked on that and I got better and then went, okay, well, now's I don't want it to beat me. I want to go back and do season C. And the same thing for season C. I was ready. My weight didn't change from uh, middle of July to the show day,
That's
which
crazy.
was in September. And I was like, I pulled it up because I was like, when did I actually stop losing weight? And I actually was just like peeled and just held the condition.
That's insane.
And it was like the middle of July. And okay, maybe I was recomping. Like there
Yeah.
was probably a bit of that going on. Um, but I was, yeah. And then I got to that, like that show. And I came third in the classic overall for the tall class and won the true novice and came second in the novice to Ashwin, who's going to be great if you ever see that guy. Man, he's got just like this brilliant shape. Yeah, nothing but praise for that guy because I do
Yeah.
think he's going to go far in this sport if he continues down the path of what he's doing. Um, but yeah, it was kind of like that mentality of, or what I learned from that is just like, okay, I know where my strengths are, I know where my weaknesses are. Part of it is around the organizational stuff.
Hmm.
And that might have come from mum and dad. I mean, my dad, not so much. No, no, I probably wouldn't say it come from either of them if I'm honest. It just sort of come from going, okay, these are what I need to do to meet the goal. And what I learned and took away from that for this year was I partitioned and used mindfulness to just go, like, all right, now I'm at the gym. This is my gym time, my posing time.
Hmm.
I left the gym. I didn't fucking think about it again. I
Hmm.
went straight back into dad mode. All right, what do I need to do for my kids? Like, you probably don't know much about my kids. I got two autistic kids,
Okay.
so they come with a whole range of
Yeah.
challenges, as you can imagine. You know, clothing issues, sensory
Yeah.
issues,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
problems at school, like you know, the whole works. Um, which they're okay. They're doing well. All that kind of stuff. It's just a matter of that's another thing you kind of got to be across. And there isn't really any time to go back to thinking about bodybuilding when you're
Yeah.
in those moments. And then it's like, okay, dinner time, get that sorted, and then it's the farm work and everything else. It's just lots that has to happen. And if you don't have any kind of mental strength to be able to hold it, then you're gonna just fall on your face. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like you don't have a choice when
Yeah.
you're deciding to prep. It's like this is you decided, you committed to doing this. Now what that means is you have to do X, Y, and Z.
Hmm.
And that's just the long and short of it, really. It's like you're going to have to prioritize your time. You're going to have to cut out the nonsense and like you do a bit of trimming of noise. And we all do that in prep. You get a
Yeah.
little bit of that. I'm going to just put a little bit of a space between me and you because you're you're taking a little bit more of my energy than what I have to
Yeah. Yeah.
give.
Yeah.
But I made myself a promise, because in that prep from last year, I really didn't do that. I kind of forced my way through to season C and I sort of pushed everybody away. I was snappy with my family, like I was just snappy and just
Hmm.
irritable, just that general prep stuff, and I didn't really show up for anybody. Whereas this prep, I went, you know what, I'm going to do it right this time, and I'm going to show up for fucking all my mates, everyone that needs me at any certain time. I'm going to make sure I'm there, and be a good fucking human when it comes to doing that kind of stuff, rather than going, oh no, I'm prepping and leave me alone.
Yeah.
It's like bodybuilding is a hobby,
Yeah.
and people need you that are going to be around long after your competing days
Hmm.
are. Um, and I've got some. Like I had a mate ring me the week before the nationals, and he's like, "Sorry, wait." He sent me a message actually. He goes, I'm sorry to dump this on you in peak week, but my dad passed away this
Hmm.
morning.
That's heavy.
And I went, fuck the bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Like, fuck the nationals, bro. I give him a call and we both cried and talked about it all. And I was like, don't ever think that you are less important than the sport
Hmm.
because it's going to be there every year until I
Literally.
die. And this is a really significant moment for you. And I'm there for you with whatever you need. And it's the same with everything. My wife had 5 surgeries this year. There was one surgery that fucked up, and then she had to have 5 corrective surgeries.
That's terrible.
So she'd been in hospital and doing all that kind of stuff, and it was like, okay, I got to take her to this appointment, do that, and
Yeah.
You know, it's just about showing up.
Yeah, I think that's so
Um,
important. Like, I think that's something that's like definitely, I think slowly it's starting to change a little bit. I think there's still this, unfortunately, because I think of the old school mentality of bodybuilding and like what, we all kind of grew up around with people like Jay going, I lived in a box, I shut everybody out,
mm,
someone like Nick even just going, I do the same thing every day. I don't care about anything else. This is my dream. But it's like what I think people forget as amateurs is like, that's all well and good, but that's also their life and they're a pro and their life and their money is on the line. And,
right.
and it's kind of like, I think it's really nice that other people are going to hear you saying this. And I think it's a great reminder because it's like, really, you know, what you said is so true. It's like, what during this time where you're kind of inherently at the end of the day choosing to make a decision to do
Yeah.
something that has no real investment, is a hobby, be selfish to go do this, that then obviously becomes a 24/7 like lifestyle, which it always is, but it's a lot more, I guess, demanding in a prep. And it's like that does not mean that you should not show up for the people around you, because they're also taking on, whether you think it or not, the prep with
Right.
you. Because all the
Yeah.
different ups and downs that you have, they got to experience it. And it's like what you kind of said, you learned that with the show last year.
Yeah.
And you kind of went, you know what, I'm going to do the right thing because that's not the type of person I am. I'm going to, give back to them by showing up this time and then proving that I can do that. So then you can continue that. And I think it's really amazing to hear.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it was just the year of growth for me in that space,
Hmm.
just being like, and it's sort of back to just your integrity and your values and all of that kind of stuff as well. It's just the character development that come out of a shitty experience and then moving forward, and then how can I do this and do it better
Yeah.
so that I don't push away the people that are actually supporting me in the journey. And that's sort of a great segue to go back into how I sort of got into the sport a little bit. There's a little bit that goes before that. I suppose, you know, bodybuilding, I've been training for a very long time now. And I think I started training, I was about 14 years old.
Hmm.
I started training because I was at school and everyone would call me, I was long and lanky and I was a late bloomer. So
Yeah.
everyone would tease me, right? Oh, chicken arms and this kind of,
Yeah.
Yahoo and about that, like as teenage boys do.
Yeah.
Um, and I went, and my mum said, "Oh, look, I'll buy you a 3 month gym membership for your birthday," and that was my birthday present. And I went to the gym, and the gym owner, locally in town here, in this small country town, Beechworth,
Hmm.
where I live, and the gym owner there, Phil Locke, he was actually a natural bodybuilder
Hmm.
way back when. Um, I'm not sure. He lives in Wodonga now, and he still owns a gym. But he wrote my first program, and he was just like a massive guy. Like I was,
Yeah. Yeah.
a teenage kid, and I walked into a gym, and I'm from a small country town. I haven't seen too many big people, and he's this big person. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
you know, I want to be like you. So then I start training, and I trained up until then. That gym closed down. It was probably like 3 years after that. I had to get a job to pay the rest of the gym membership. So I was working in the takeaway store in town, trying to save money to pay for the weekly gym membership fees. And then I went into sort of boxing, and like because that closed down and I couldn't
Yeah.
get to Wodonga to the nearest gym, so I went into the boxing sort of game for a while, and then I sort of when sort of I did that, and then I went to did the jobs here, the viticulture and all that kind of stuff, and then went to uni, and of course got involved in the uni party lifestyle of drinking and not taking anything too seriously, and then I met my wife. And we started training together and seeing each other and all that kind of stuff. And her dad is an old Mr. New Zealand and Mr. Pan Pacific and
Sick.
Mr. He's
That's cool.
he's been a bodybuilder for his
Yeah, yeah.
whole life and he still is. And he's 63.
That's awesome.
Um, and he got on stage last year and won. They put on an over 60s class, which he won
Yeah.
for the nationals. So that was pretty cool for Tony to do that. Um, and yeah, sort of from there, I sort of was, I was training, um, and met him, and there was always someone to sort of look up to and sort of show me a bit more. And his training was just like very old school. It was like a bro split, and it was
Yeah.
just like decimate your body.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. I think
so
we've
I
all
would,
been there.
and I would dread going on holidays. They lived in Brisbane, and we'd always go to Brisbane and visit them. And I'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to work out with your dad."
Yeah.
I'd sweat and stress and be so anxious about it the whole time because just his intensity with what we were doing and the amount of sets and like it was just sickening. And then like the next day for the whole week, I'd just be like, if we did arms, I'd just be like this. And I just knew, like, I knew that that wasn't the way my body responded to growth.
Yeah.
But I did it because it was part of the family thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You and accepted that's the way you're
Yeah.
going to have to train. And it's taken him years and years and years. And finally, he's come back around to the training splits that I do. But he's only come back to that because Nick Walker does it. So he's seen on YouTube that Nick Walker's doing like, very low volume stuff at the moment, and very much that mind muscle connection stuff, not very super heavy weights or whatever. So all of a sudden he's changed his training.
That's funny. That's very funny.
but yeah, so and I was just training at a local gym, and people would come up to me and they're like, "Oh, when are you competing? When are you competing?" I'm like, I'm not competing. You want me to do a show? Nah, I don't think that's me. I'm not really into that. And it was when my wife she was pregnant with Sophie, my daughter. Um, and I bought myself a copy of Lane Norton's Complete Guide to Contest Prep.
Oh yeah,
Which is a brilliant book. Very, very good. And she had Sophie, had Sophie at home. She was about 3 months old, and I said, "Oh, there's a show coming up, the South Coast Classic here from the ICN. I think I'll do it." So I decided that it was a great time with 3-month-old and newborn to start a prep.
of course.
And I just followed the book. It was
Yeah.
literally it. And I turned it into a spreadsheet so I could just enter in my details, and then it would just say, here's where you should start with your calories. Here's how you could break it down. And then basically, as a natural athlete, it's like, are you losing weight week to week, and are you getting leaner? Really simple. And I followed that and got down to the show. I remember sitting there with a cot and trying to sleep and having the baby's, holding the baby's foot while the baby goes to sleep next to the cot. And I'm falling asleep, sitting up, and like, it was probably not a great idea to do it.
Yeah. But
With the
definitely an
newborn.
experience that would have taught you that then the next time you prep, how much easier it can be.
Yeah. But the thing is, I've never prepped without kids.
Yeah,
Is an
that's true.
interesting
That's
thing.
true.
So people are like, "Oh, how do you do it?" And I'm just like, "It's all I've ever known.
Yeah.
I haven't known any different." And then I'll see people do it without kids, and I'm just like, you got no fucking idea how much different it is when you have children. Like,
Yes, that's so true.
it doesn't work. Like, oh, I've just got home from work. Now I can do my meal prep or my posing. It's like, no, you got kids. You got to feed them. You
Yeah.
got to
Could entertain
unpack their
them.
school bags. You got to do homework.
Yeah.
You've got to, respond to the always dad, but come do this, come do that. Which does get hard towards the end of prep when you've got zero energy, and then it's like, "Dad, can you come do this?" And you're just like, "I can't fucking move."
Yeah.
Like, man, that pain, and your mind is screaming. You just get up and help your fucking kids, man. So you sort of grin and bear it and get through. But yeah, so I competed in that show, and I won. I won the first time as the intermediate, the novice, and then came fourth in the overall. And I was the leanest on stage by a long way. I just, was when it come to the overall, it was just a size thing I didn't have.
Yeah.
But it certainly was that passion for it that sort of got sparked then. But I also went, you know what? I've got young kids now, and we want to have a family. So let's just go back to being dad and family, and put bodybuilding on a hold, and keep doing what you're doing, keep training, keep growing, keep dieting, keep doing this and that, and eventually you'll come back to competing. And again, same thing. I needed somebody in the gym to say, "You're going to compete next year," for me to start thinking about last year.
Yeah.
And then go, "Oh, look, I've thought about it. I've denied about it. Maybe I should. Maybe I shouldn't. I don't know." And then I did, and I did reasonably well, winning the true novice, and then second in the novice, and then winning the bodybuilding true novice, and then because I did 6 divisions, which was pretty stupid too. But I wanted to sort of know where I fit.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it was, look, I always, and I talk about this a lot, and I say to everybody, you should do as many divisions as you can,
Mm,
and as many shows and as many federations as you can. And the reason why is you'll get more stage time and you'll develop yourself more as an athlete because you've had more stage time.
yeah,
I mean, you diet for what, 16 to 20 weeks for a lot of people. They get on stage, they have 2 minutes on stage, and then they're off, and then that was it.
mm,
And then how are you supposed to develop as an athlete and learn how to work the audience, learn how how the lighting works in different, some lighting is super hot and you might sweat, some
yeah,
lighting's not. There's a whole different sort of thing if you don't have your experience of different venues, different stages, different audiences, more time on stage doing what you love. You're missing out. So I
yeah,
always say, like, do as many as you can afford. um, and as many different federations as you can, because they offer you different stuff.
yeah,
The PCA Pro stuff for me, like I won that last year. I won the Pro Cup, and that was great for me because I beat Ashwin and I beat I forget his name offhand, but they both of them beat me in the IFBB shows.
yeah,
So it was just a matter of holding condition, and I obviously did that better.
yeah,
And then it was that was it. But the difference was a different judging panel who
yeah.
favors
Different
condition.
criteria.
Yeah, different. Like for Ashwin and me, it was like shape versus condition, right?
Mm,
He has brilliant shape, and he's always going to beat me on shape. Nothing I can do about that. I can out condition him, which is what I did and what happened. So yeah, it was. Oh shit, my battery's running out of my computer. It was really cool to go to that different federation and just have a different experience with judges and um, get a result, which I was like, oh yes, now I'm okay. I'm with these guys. I'm not further behind than what I thought.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, and it was like, well, people are like, well, why do you want to compete in the PCA if it's a federation? And I said, well, because I'm not going to push and push and push for an IFBB Pro card. It'd be nice if it happens, but then I'm at the bottom of the rung, and I know myself that looking at my genetics, just where I'm at in my life. I'm 34. All of that combined, I'm like, no matter what I did, I'm not going to make third call out in Olympia ever.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
if you're very honest with yourself, very very honest with yourself,
Mm,
you can say you can be a good professional, but you'll always be last in a pro show. Like really. So you
yeah,
spend a fortune on getting over there to compete in a pro show, and you get sort of nothing for it.
yeah,
And as an athlete, I think people should be encouraged to compete in whatever federation they see themselves doing well in, and that is going to reward them. And for me, I like people go, oh, you're a loser because you compete in the PCA. It's like, well, I actually won money in bodybuilding this year. Did
mm,
you win any money? Did you win any prize money? Like,
yeah,
I think you might have spent 10 grand on shows, but you got nothing to show for it
yeah.
except for the
Literally.
medal. Um, perhaps who's the loser here? Like,
Yeah, literally. You're the
who's
one who
actually
wants some.
lost?
You want some money, but I think it's a really like good point, and I think like I was actually talking to someone else on a different podcast about this, like, and kind of them doing a different federation as well, and they became pro in that federation, and they eventually said they're going to eventually do an IFBB show again, but it's just kind of that thing of like I think there sh there should be no kind of discrimination to whatever federation you do, because at the end of the day, if like that's the thing. It's like we all
No.
understand that IFBB takes you to the Olympia. That's like,
Yeah.
that's the end goal. That's what we do. That's how we're inspired. But it's like, yeah, if you and are honest with yourself, you probably don't have the genetics, you don't have the financial funds. It's like, yeah, why not go to a different federation where you can become a pro or can do better and actually enjoy it instead of pushing yourself into a space where you're just kind of never going to succeed. And then you end up maybe falling out of love with it. Where it's like,
Right.
if you're
Well,
doing if you're a bodybuilder and you love bodybuilding, a stage is a stage. Like it doesn't matter
yes.
what it is. So it's like just go do what you love. And I think it's so important, like what you said too, was, you know, you spend 16 weeks dieting if you can. Do multiple shows if they're lined up, whatever federation, because that's I think that's super underrated too. So many
Mm,
people don't realize that just even being on stage is a whole separate thing. You feel like you've
mm,
mastered prep, you feel like you've mastered it, you know, your nutrition in the gym, but you know, being on stage once is not the same. It's like you need to continue put the repetition in there to get, like you
yeah.
said, different shows, different lightings, different stage environments, different judges, different performance, different competition.
Yeah. 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 No, it's all very much, yeah, really important, I think, for people just to be exposed to, I don't know. It, I say it this way: it's like people that compete in the Olympics don't then go, "Well, I'm not going to the Commonwealth Games."
Yeah,
Do that? And I get, they don't, unless they're not part of the Commonwealth. Like, okay, we're going to argue that
yeah,
country,
yeah,
who's eligible, who's not. But you're a fucking athlete. Athletes should not have to go, I can't compete in that federation for fear that I'm not going to be treated fairly in this
yeah.
federation, and vice versa. Without athletes, they don't have a fucking show.
Yeah.
Like, legit. Like, nobody's going to go to the shows if they've got no athletes. And then the money's not going to come because the money comes from the crowd.
Hmm.
So when people are, perhaps putting some things in place that make it so that people don't want to go to other federations, well, who does the power actually sit with?
Yeah.
But you know, and I think like a lot of it, I've seen lots of things, lately with PCA, with sorry IFBB pros giving up their pro card, coming to the PCA, and the reason for them for doing that because they are realizing that they don't have any IFBB pro shows where they live,
Yeah.
so they have to travel for it, and the chances of them winning to make all of that worthwhile is very low.
Yeah.
Whereas if they have a local PCA pro show or one that's within their country or within their means of travel, all of a sudden they've got more, the more money, the more ability to,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then that in turn increases the quality of the athletes that are going,
Yeah.
which then in turn increases the competition, which then makes it so difficult. So yeah, there's lots to be said about it. But I honestly think, NABA, PCA, like whatever, people should just be able to compete wherever.
Yeah.
And not be worried about how it affects them. You know, it's it's unfortunate that that's the way it is, but I'd like to see it change so that eventually you could have like a unified title where all of the federations came together and did one big fuck off event,
Yeah.
and then the IFBB could clean up and say, "See, we told you so."
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever.
That actually be pretty cool. Like it would be pretty funny. Like it's like one of those things where it's like when you know, it's that whole thing to do with the NBA and doing the Olympics. It's always just kind of like, you know, have all the different countries and it's like, you know, the Americans come in, it's like, oh yeah, well we're gonna show you that we're the best. Like it's like that type of thing. It's like why not do it? Like you imagine the crowd, imagine the money that you're gonna pull in, having everyone come to the show, having people do. It's like it makes things fun. It's
It
like the
makes
whole
things
thing of
fun.
why, like, you
Yeah,
know, in the Olympia, you know, people want to go. Well, you know, some people like shove the classic, shove the 212. It's just open bodybuilding. Just get everybody up
yeah,
there. It's just
yeah.
one of those things. It's part of the sport, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's an interesting sort of thing. So what else do we need to talk about? We've talked about getting into bodybuilding,
Well, something I wanted to kind of touch on was
long
because I
thread.
think it's really interesting to kind of hear because it's not very often I think that, you know, there are a lot of athletes that I guess are dads. So,
Yeah.
you know, what I was kind of interested was how do you navigate, I guess, the you know, that nutrition and the discipline and the things that bodybuilding have taught you that I think, you know, how do you translate that into like, you know, not forcing it onto your children, but how do you kind of navigate, I guess, you know, what you've learned and what you've built in onto like, helping raise your children?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, essentially, they're all about protein, and and it's funny. I was talking to my daughter's OT, and she's just like, talking about my daughter's lunchbox, and she's like, she's got, chicken drumsticks, and she's got tuna. She doesn't have a sandwich. She's got some vegetables, and then she has like one or two sweet treats in
Yeah.
there. Um, and it's like, because she won't eat a sandwich is the reason why I do that. And she loves her tuna, and she loves her, she loves her chicken, and she loves
Yeah.
meat. And I'm very lucky that I live on a farm. And for me, it's like the thing that does save me a bit in bodybuilding is I go out and hunt stuff.
Yeah.
Go out and hunt food. If I need protein, I can just go out and shoot something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do my own lamb, and I do my own beef, and I do my own pork. And for me, it's just a matter of a bit of work
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
to go and process it. But then it's like I know where it's come from, and I packaged it myself, and it's so much more affordable that way. It's actually really cool. But yeah, my kids love it. They come along to shows. They get bored because they see a few muscly people, and then but my dad, sorry, my son goes to school. He's like, my dad's the strongest dad that's
Yeah.
ever
Yeah.
lived.
That's
And,
so cool.
he's super proud about it.
Yeah.
Um, he's even more muscly than the Hulk. He just
That's
like
so
he
cute.
just like brings me up 1,000-fold when it comes to. And then he's telling one of the powerlifters at the gym. He's like, "Oh, my dad's the strongest dad," and I'm like, "You're talking to Australia's strongest man."
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
next, like he's stronger than me. Like, don't put me in the same category as him. He's He's the Australian champion right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite funny, but yeah, they really enjoy the bodybuilding stuff. They'll hit poses every now and again. They'll show us their muscles, and my daughter is, she's sort of taken on that of athleticism
Yeah.
quite a bit. So she runs across country, and she was the first out of the girls in her year. Um, but she ran. She thought she had to do one lap, but she has to do two. So she had to do the second lap, and she was getting so exhausted. But she didn't. I watched everyone else's kids. They sort of stopped and
Yeah.
walked, and she did not stop, and she did not walk. She got to the end, and she started crying because she couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
But she had that drive, that kind of, fuck you, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to be the first girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she just was not stopping no matter what. And I
Yeah,
think that's
that's gotta
kind of
be
what it,
nice. That's gotta be nice to kind of see like that, that I think that's a because that is so true. Like with cross country, like I remember I even like ran and then I'd walk for a bit and then I'd run again.
yeah.
So I guess like as a parent, I can imagine like going like something that I'm sure you're proud about yourself with like your discipline and your drive to see that that's being influenced and translated onto your
Mm.
kids.
It's the fortitude stuff, and like they come to the gym, and there was one time I got to the gym and the crèche was closed, and I was like, oh, stuff it, you're going to come with me. We're going to do a workout, and she's getting the dumbbells, and I got some videos of her doing the dumbbells and stuff, and then it was like I was in stage condition, so I just she sat on a bench and I was doing some posing, and somebody else was taking some photos of us, and there's some really nice photos of her just sitting watching me pose,
Yeah, yeah,
and it's just like she's just transfixed by it. So it's kind of just bled into that
yeah. That's
a
cool.
lot of the time. Um, yeah, it's been good for them, I think, in a lot of ways. Sometimes they get sick; they don't want to come to the gym because they have to go to the creche, and the creche is boring and whatever. But we only do that on a Saturday, and for the most part, I train around time. So it's always been for me as a parent, as a father, my hobby does not overtake time away from my kids.
Mm,
And what I mean by that was when Sophie was born and I was prepping for that show, I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning and training at 4:30, posing, getting home at 6 o'clock in the morning to have breakfast ready for Sophie and my wife.
yeah,
And that was the way it is. And then in the afternoons, you know, I finish work at 4, I go train, and then I have to leave at 5 to get back to 5:30 to pick them up from wherever.
yeah,
It might be after school care. And my wife's been super supportive. She gets them one day a week. Doing that kind of stuff. She has like I have a long session where I get to do lots more posing and lots
mm,
more. Take time with my workouts. Otherwise, they're pretty much get in and like blinkers on because you're going to run out of time if you
yeah,
don't.
yeah,
Um, and she's like when we talk about not having a coach, I suppose I should say my wife, being around, growing up with bodybuilding in
Yeah,
her family, her dad being, competing. I think he's like done like 50 something shows. Um, it's she is the person that I go to when I'm like, I think I look flat, and then she just look at me, or what? Like I'll be like, what do you think I look like today? And she's like, what did you eat yesterday? And I'll be like, this, and this, and she's like, all right, do that again on show day. Like she's just so good at
yeah, that's
picking
awesome.
out the look,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
uh, and when I look good and when I don't. So, I've always sort of relied on that. Is that she's the person that sort of knows. She knows me, and then
yeah,
having somebody that knows the sport as well and can
yeah.
see. Oh yeah, I don't know. I think you're holding a bit of water, or maybe you know, yeah, I don't like what you've done there. So yeah, she's pretty onto it.
I think it's good. I
Um,
think it's good. I think like there's nothing. It's kind of like Samson and his wife. Like it's like
yeah,
you spend so much time with the person. It's like the only person who's going to know more, like that's right. It's not like you have your coach with you 24/7. And obviously like having the background that she does, and her father and that, it's like, yeah, it's reliable. She has the knowledge and she can, and then she's seeing you all the time. So you can kind of bounce off of her when needed,
yeah,
when maybe you are, because that was a question that I was going to ask was, how do you balance, like you sound like you've got the accountability down pat, you've got the drive, you've got the discipline, but it's like, I think anyone who has a coach would then try and argue with you. Oh, but if you had a coach, you could just be that like 1% better because, like, then you don't have to worry about anything or whatever. But it's like, it sounds like you've kind of got your version of that with your wife.
yeah, yeah. I definitely say that, and her ability to relax, to just bring me down if I'm a bit sort of like stressed about something. Like when I said to you earlier in this conversation about how I called her and sent her photos and
Yep.
just been like, I'm stressing out. Like I'm 105. I need to be 101.6 tomorrow. What is it? What have I done wrong? I've had the same food. This is what I've eaten. She's the one. You're stressing.
Yeah.
Listen, like, calm the fuck down and go to sleep.
Yeah.
It wasn't word. She not like not words to that effect. That's me just
But
saying
yeah,
it
verbatiming
how I
it.
heard it.
Yeah.
But essentially, it was just like you are where you need to be. You don't need to stress about anything.
Mm.
Whereas a coach might have been like, "Oh, you need to take a loop diuretic or do this or do that," and like just throw in a
Yeah.
whole bunch of stuff, which probably increased stress because you go, "Oh shit," all these things now I've got to think about.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very grounding, and I think yeah, people would say you could be 1% better, and I go, well, is that 1% worth the cost that would then take, which would then cause stress in other parts of my life because I'm
Yeah.
actually paying for something I can't afford.
That's right. And
Which I've always been like, this sport has to be not going to impact the financial sort of dynamic within the household and has to be very well maintained. And because it's expensive, you've got show money, photo money, tan money,
mm,
money for everything.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, so bodybuilding on a shoestring, well, it's making it more affordable is very much desirable for me. um, until if I made more money from the sport, sure, but I
Mm.
don't, and it's a hobby. So
Mm.
why, and you should spend money on your hobbies. You shouldn't bankrupt your family for a hobby. You know what I mean?
100%.
Like, and I think that's where people get it wrong, and they jump into these contest preps, and then they go, "Oh shit, I didn't realize how expensive it was."
Yeah.
And then it's like, "Yeah, wow, welcome to the club."
It's
Um,
even like, obviously, like not to take it there, but even something as like, crazy as not even just bankrupting your family, but kind of like, whether that's leaving your family because it's like, oh, well, you're not in the sport, you don't get it. I might as well be with someone who is with the sport. Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
it's crazy to kind of like, I think it's funny, like, I love bodybuilding. This is why I do the
Yeah,
podcast, why,
yeah, yeah,
but I think it's just that thing of, it's funny to see how it's like, I think little things like this over time, which is not a massive percentage of people within the community with the sport. And I think we're getting very good to bring it more positivity towards it. But I think like those little moments where that kind of gets highlighted is where people think bodybuilding is selfish, but it's like it doesn't
Yeah,
need to be selfish.
yeah, yeah. It does. It doesn't have to be, and it's yeah. It's sort of yeah, like you said. Those old school mentalities. People like you need to suffer through a prep. You need to push super hard. It's like I've seen it time and time again. The athletes that win, they come out and they say, "Oh, it was the easiest prep I've done,"
Mm,
because the stress is lower, the
yeah,
sleep is better. Things are just moving along as they should without being forced along too hard to the point where people actually, their body starts to really lock down and say, "We're not doing that."
yeah.
How often is it that people get so depleted and they're not sort of where they need to be, but you say, "Oh, we'll feed you up, have an extra 400 calories today."
Mm,
And then they go, "Oh, hold on, my weight's gone back down now. So we started again. We're off we go again."
yeah,
So it might be like the initial weight gain because obviously with the more carbohydrates, you get a bit more that glycogen refill. But then they go back to the plan and it's just like straight down past where they were,
yeah,
where
yeah,
they
yeah,
stalled at. It happens all the time, that carb cycling, but yeah, I think there's lots to be said in the
yeah.
sport in general.
Yes, but I
But
guess
people,
at the end of the day, it's just, life. Like any aspect, it's the human experience. There will always be good and bad and ups and downs and questionable things, and it's just all about how we as a human being and ourselves can only take responsibility for our own actions and our own morals and values, and it's the way that we stay true to that. Like
yeah,
in the
yeah,
way
yeah.
we progress through the experiences that we choose to partake in.
What's within your control and what's out of your control? And I think there's sort of some of the big takeaways, people need to say is like, I can't control the score of the judges. I can't control this. I can control how I present myself. I can control how I respond to not getting good feedback or not getting, where I want to
Mm,
place. I can control how I interact with my coach. All of those things that are
yeah,
within your control, do them really well. Like,
yeah,
then fuck the results and stuff off because you're not going to control it. And you just jumping up and down about it is just going to make you look like a dick. Like,
yeah,
and and like I knew even going into like the nationals, I was like, oh, no one's going to beat Dashy.
yeah,
That
yeah,
was he's a beautiful, beautiful physique and massive.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you're not going to just not turn up because he's going to win.
yeah,
You're going to turn up because you're an athlete and you want to compete and you want to showcase what you've got and you want to stand up there with the fucking best.
yeah.
And David as well, the like
And
another
quite
guy
frankly, like,
could get a pro card.
yeah, what even just knowing, like, even if you think this person is going to win, doesn't mean they're not gonna fuck up. Like
Yeah,
that's the whole thing. Like, you know, Dashies, it's great that he won his pro card. He deserves it. He's put
yeah.
in relentless work. But it's the thing of, he's been trying for so long. He's been
So
in that
long.
bridge, that like doorway of trying to like actually walking through and getting
Get
the
there.
pro card
Yeah.
because he's, missed it up at nationals a little bit after time. So it's like that thing. You never know what's going to happen. So if you don't show up, and I was talking to someone else about it, with Mercedes with her podcast, and she was kind of saying that. And I think it's such a good um, thing to remind yourself of. If you don't do something, yeah, you can preempt what you assume is going to happen. But especially in bodybuilding, someone that you think's going to beat you, you could beat on the day because it's just whatever happens in that moment,
Yeah.
in that time, and who can handle the stress better, especially when
And
it's close.
one more I think is people get so like competitors. If you're getting ready for a show, delete your fucking Instagram. Just do yourself a favor, delete it. Like, don't touch it, don't go on it. Turn up not knowing who's going to turn up
Mm,
because half the time people psych themselves out.
yeah,
Oh, and people look great on Instagram with filters, and they've spent 10 minutes trying to get the perfect photo to show this perfect pose, and you see them in stage and like next to you on the day, and you're just like, oh fuck, I've got you 100 times over. Like this is
yeah,
like smoke and mirrors for sure. I was worried, but I know now I don't have to be.
yeah,
But how many times people get psyched out just
yeah.
by that, and then they get obsessed over it. Like they go, oh, I've looked at this person on Instagram, and I've looked at this, and I've looked at that. So that they're sort of already placing themselves without actually being next to
Mm.
people. So I think that's a really important thing. I think always, stay off social media
Yeah.
and don't, I mean, I was guilty of it a bit and getting into, who's this, who's that. But all I found was just adding to my stress.
Yeah. Which
So
is
then
like,
I was like, fuck that. Like, and I was like, oh, look, and I saw Dashy and I was like, oh, I'm not going to beat him, but I'm happy with second place.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fuck. And then I saw him at the WA show, and I thought, oh, he's sort of a weak from the back. He's got his glutes aren't striated, and
Yeah.
he's massive, but he's sort of a bit behind in condition. Maybe I could outcondition him. I'm
Mm.
not going to outsize him. I'm probably not going to outpose him unless we keep going round after round after round. I'm quite happy with my posing stamina. I think that would beat him, but I'm never going to beat him on size. So
Yeah.
forget that. That's gone.
Yeah. But then it's
You
like goes
focus
back
on what
to
you can control.
that's
I
right. That's
can
what I was gonna
control
say.
how lean I come in. I can control if my posing's tidy, my transitions are good. I can control, if I can hold poses for a long period of
Mm.
time and maybe fatigue a few others. That's what I
Yeah.
can control.
And that's
And
what's important.
yeah, and that sometimes is what etches you out of placing or two, just based on like, you pose, and then all of a sudden somebody's breaking pose, they're
Yeah.
tired, they're exhausted, they're sweating, they're starting to look, they lose the look.
Mm.
Um, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
there's probably so much we could talk about
Yes.
with regards to sort of stage presentation and all that kind of stuff.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Well, one last question to kind of wrap things up.
Sure.
I'll pose two questions and then you can kind of just they're similar but not similar, but you can choose like which one you want to answer.
Yeah, no,
Um,
that's
the first one was kind of what is like your current like life mantra? Like which way are you kind of approaching and living each day at this point? Or what advice would you kind of give to someone juggling like big goals and also being real life, like whether like they're a bodybuilder and they're a family, they've got a family and they've got a job or what it doesn't even have to be bodybuilding related. I just thought they kind of like blend a bit together. So
yeah. I suppose people juggling big goals, what advice I would give them is don't forget about the people who are enabling you to pursue that goal.
mm,
Don't
love that.
forget about your family, the people that are supporting you, your friends, even people who are encouraging you, because it's very easy to go into a mindset of, I'm up here with the elites and, this is all just working in the background. Well,
Yeah.
somebody's fucking working it, man. It doesn't work itself.
Yeah.
Um, so be really cognizant of those people that are in your corner and, you know, credit where credit's due. Give people what they need, give people the praise they deserve for where they're at. Um, in whatever they're doing, whether they're supporting you, whether they're competing against you, whether they're, whether they won, overall, and you don't agree with the decision.
Mm,
Like, give people credit where credit's due. They've done the work. They've obviously impressed the judges on the day. You know, that's their big dream was for me, it was like I wanted to go back and do the Victorians because I was like, I was close last year,
yeah.
and I want to give it another crack this year, and I want to do it better because I fucking did a shit job last year in terms of the rest of the stuff. That exactly what I said earlier. It's like I didn't I didn't acknowledge what was going on behind the scenes
Mm,
of people supporting me so that I could do something for myself.
yeah. And
So I
then
think
in doing so, you then were rewarded.
right, right, and because I didn't obsess over it to the nth degree, I just had my planned time for posing, my planned time for training, and my meal prep time.
Mm,
That was sort of reasonably concrete. The rest of it was fluid as fuck. But I made sure that I'd stand up like with everybody else, like
yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
else was. And one thing is like, you know, I'm a with cardio, for example, it's like because I knew I needed to work on my posing,
Mm,
I dropped out cardio and just focused on posing. Like I literally didn't. I did my steps, but I didn't do I was doing, Stairmaster and stuff leading into dieting. But once I was in condition, I was like, well, you know what? I'm just going to hammer into the posing now.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to be my cardio because I'm going to
Yeah.
get exhausted. And I'm sitting in the posing room in the gym and the fucking windows are all foggy. And I go, well, I kind of can't do any more now.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
everything's fogged up and it's steamy and I'm dripping in sweat. I'm like, think I've done my sort of
Yeah.
my cardio for the time. Yeah, I'd say if don't forget the people that are giving you the opportunity to do what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Be the
100%.
take away.
I love that because I think it's also, at the end of the day, like, and I think that's so important. It's like where you kind of see, I guess, where people's ego comes into it of like, if they, you know, doesn't just have to be bodybuilding related, but like whether, they become successful or whatever, and you can kind of see where, you know, they don't, they want to take, you know, unless you've actually only been by yourself and just you, and there has been no one else, it's like, that ego can sometimes come in, and then, you want to make it about you, but it's like you're forgetting about, yeah, whether it's like your partner or your friends or the people that you interact with or whatever it may be, that's helped guide you and push you in that direction and
Yeah,
supported you to then reach that goal. So I think I love what you said. It's super
and,
important.
and I think with big goals as well is don't try and rush reaching the goal
Hmm.
because you reach it and then the other end of it might be a little bit empty. But not only that, like in this game that we play with bodybuilding and the use of PDs, is there seems to be a big rush for everybody to start using and do
Hmm.
this. And I always use the analogy of it for people. It's like speeding in your car.
Hmm.
It's like you can speed a little bit, and the chances are you won't get caught.
Yeah.
And if you do get caught, it'll be a little fine.
Yeah.
You can speed a lot, and you might fucking die.
Yeah. Literally.
And or you might pay a big fine, lose your license, which will kick you out of a sport.
Yeah.
And depending on where you want to go, is how much you need to speed.
Yeah.
And if you speed a lot and continuously, the higher risk of you to get caught.
Hmm.
You know,
I like that
and
analogy. That's a good one.
and then every now and then you should look under the hood of your car because if you're speeding in it, you're going to be more wear and tear on it, right? So what are you doing with your oil changes? When was the last time you checked to see like that? Yeah, your tires were in good shape in case you need to stop suddenly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think a lot of people neglect health, and it is getting better. But I think a big thing is like I look at my blood work right now, right? And I got my blood work done. It was 2 days
Hmm.
before I was going to Thailand. I was like, I'm going to check how it is at the highest level of stress. And you'd look at my blood work and you'd go, you're great, fucking crack on.
Hmm.
You could keep pushing and doing what you're doing and just keep going. Right. I got my echocardiogram done the same day. And I've been doing that ever since I started this. So I got that done 5 years ago
Yeah.
after my kids sort of reached an age. And I was like, all right, I want to start getting this. So I got it done then. And I've watched it over time gradually, like no matter what I do with all of the stuff, the health stuff we do in place, the cardio, there's structural changes. There
Yeah.
are things happening that some of them are reversible, some of them maybe not. But it's enough for you to go, well, hang on a minute, you need to stop speeding for a little bit.
Yeah.
You need to start looking at how you're going to make sure your car is in ship shape
Hmm.
for a period of time. But I know that a lot of coaches just do blood work.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, your blood work's sweet, crack on. And it's like, hang on, there's so many other things you
Yeah.
need to look
Literally.
into. And an echo being a massive part of that. I think that people sort of overlook or don't read into enough as what
Hmm.
they should, what that actually means, what the outcome looks like, and how it is tracking over time.
But I think that's
Because
a massive thing. Is like that over
mm,
time
mm,
process. I think sometimes like, you kind of maybe do it once and then you kind of, or you do it once where maybe it's a bit too late and then it still kind
yeah,
of looks good, but then you have no idea compared to like, yeah, 3, 4 years ago. And then you're just comparing it to what is
yeah,
probably not even what the best number was. Because it's that funny thing of
and it's
when you're young, you just kind of feel like you're invincible. Like there's this like
right.
weird period, especially, and I think it's different for you because you kind of started it all a little bit when you had kids, but especially if you don't have kids and things like that, yeah, you have that bit of an invincible mindset.
Yeah, yeah, for me, and that's why I was a bit more health conscious about the things that I do because of the fact that I've got kids. I've got people that rely on me. I can't, you know, touch wood, drop dead because I'm engaging in a sport that isn't actually paying me money. It just seems a bit ridiculous when you look at the whole thing. But yeah, really important as a takeaway of people with big goals that want to push to that limit is make sure that you are not speeding to get there quicker, because the chances of you getting a fine, I guess, is up there.
Yeah, yeah.
And we've seen it happen. You see it happen all the time.
Mm.
Even with women these days, it's getting to a point where the sport, yeah, and people go, oh, it's not that, it's this, or it's not that, it's this, and it's like you can't deny the fact of the things that we do in this sport. Whether it's the drugs, whether it's the training, whether it's this, whether it's that, they place stress on the body,
Yeah.
and there's nothing else to it. That's it, man.
It's just kind of like that.
Just you denying it because you don't want to accept the truth of that's potential reality for you.
Yeah, yeah. I think like, and I think what's ironic is like, obviously, if you are enhanced, that and like it does have an effect on you. And no matter, like you said, there's just things that at the end of the day we may not even realize that are unreversible, and it's just purely based
Yeah,
on your individual genetics. It's like something
yeah,
that's like completely fine for someone else may not be, and then you're never really gonna know. And then but the other side of that too is, I think, funnily enough, like, even not being enhanced and doing it natural, if you want to be like, let's just say for argument's sake, like, an open natural bodybuilder, and you want to continue to try and push the limits that you can naturally, you are still putting your body under stress. And at the
yeah,
end of the day, one of the biggest things that most people deal with and they don't even realize and like affect your life is autoimmune disease, and that
yeah.
is literally onsetted by stress. So even as
Stress.
a natural, it's just a part of what
Yeah,
happens doing the sport and how lucky
yeah.
your genetics are.
I got my testosterone tested the day after my natural show, um, and it was 6. My total testosterone was 6, and I think the cutoff is back then was 10 or something.
Hmm.
Uh, and it's like it's 6, and I'm just like, well, this is biologically, women, they don't get their period. Like men, it's obviously going to drop to the point where it's like you can't afford to have offspring,
Yeah, yeah.
because so we're going to make you have no sex drive.
Hmm.
And like it is definitely easier to compete as an enhanced athlete than as a natural. Like dead set, you just have the hormonal balance. You
Yeah.
you get a bit more energy because of that. Um, as a natural, as soon as that drops, you just like you feel dead,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and,
yeah.
and then you just have no interest in any of that, which is a big part of everything else. So
Yeah.
yeah, and again, back to the speeding thing. It's like, yeah, some people don't get that because it's not in their genetics to get it, but some people speed their whole life and never get a fine. You don't know,
Literally. Yeah.
and they might be flying, and they might just be lucky. Like
Yeah,
there's
literally. It's the
normal people.
luck of the draw.
And other people, they speed once, and it's like speed camera, you're done. There's your license or whatever. It's like, and we all know those people. I know people that have taken it. They've done a cycle of stuff, and then they've all of a sudden gone, "Oh fuck, no, this is wrong," And yeah,
It's just a
but
part of life, I guess. The,
it's,
the the joys of being human and
yeah,
wanting to enjoy
not being
the
able to control,
yeah,
who we are and what we look like and all of that kind of stuff.
definitely.
But that'll change. Like to be honest, I think in another 20 or 30 years, there's probably going to be a time where everybody will have the ability to be a bodybuilder because the drugs, everything will get better. We've got the GLP-1s, the
Yeah.
myostatin inhibitors are coming. There's the peptides are here. Everybody can morph into who they want to be if they really want it. But perhaps the sport will lose, popularity in that aspect,
Yeah,
because
that
like for a while,
appeal.
like it's everybody can do that now.
Mm.
They might, maybe not. I think everybody still have. We want to see freaks. We want to see people that have pushed the limits and just, monstrous and you know, yeah, very cool.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway, I'll leave you to it because I do have to go get my daughter. So
yeah, I'll let you head and do that. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for having a chat. It's
it's
been
been a good
absolutely
chat. No, no,
amazing. And I'm
yeah,
excited. I'm very, very excited for everyone to hear this. It's been an absolute pleasure, man.
Yeah, hopefully it's not too mumbly. Hopefully
No,
people get, it's a little bit of a conversation piece, and I tend to jump from subject to subject
no,
pretty
you did
quick.
great, man. You did great. Don't worry, not mumbly at all. I think we strung
Excellent.
along very perfectly.
Excellent. All right. Thanks a lot, Jake.
No
Thanks for your
worries, man.
time, man.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Will do. Thanks a
Cheers.
lot. See you.
Bye.